Justice Department led an international law enforcement operation stretching from Southeast Asia to Europe to the Caribbean, which disrupted 9/11-S5. 9/11-S5 was a botnet that facilitated cyber attacks, large-scale fraud, child exploitation, harassment, bomb threats, and export violations. As part of this operation, Yunhee Wang, a Chinese national, was arrested on charges for creating and operating the botnet and for deploying malware.
China in the Eastern Caribbean islands today sees a way for infiltration closer to the United States.
When China looks at the Caribbean, it understands that so many of those states that do recognize Taiwan are there. That makes the region particularly important strategically.
Roosevelt Skerritt, in an interview he conducted, agreed with China absorbing Taiwan.
Part of the Chinese international business model is to put its people in your country, put its capital in your country, and gain a foothold in that country in every aspect of human endeavor.
The Chinese population under the CBI program will overcome or overwhelm those little islands where they'll have the votes to control the Caribbean islands.
So you're looking at literally billions of dollars that were generated through our citizenship scheme that went in the direction of private people, both outside and inside the Federation, but did not bring any substantial benefit to the country.
So they have robbed, betrayed the people of their country right under the version of "we love you."
There has been far too little public focus on the fact that PRC hackers are targeting our critical infrastructure, our water treatment plants, our electrical grid, our oil and natural gas pipelines, our transportation systems, and the risk that poses to every American requires our attention now.
In peacetime, that level of influence that China achieves commercially creates opportunities for China to advance their objectives in the region. In wartime, those relationships become even more concerning, especially given how close the Caribbean and Mexico and Central America are to sensitive U.S. military facilities. It's been like watching a slow-motion train wreck, something that everyone can see happening, but everyone is tragically unable to stop.
Hello, I'm Philippe Martinez, and welcome to Impact World Media. We are a new American world news company. We have correspondents in London, Paris, Moscow, Hong Kong, Dubai, Tel Aviv, Casablanca, Washington, New York, Miami, Los Angeles. Our goal is not to bring breaking news, but to conduct investigation, research, analysis on geopolitical issues and on fighting corruption. Today, exceptionally, because it's the first podcast, I will be speaking only by myself. And I will be addressing the corruption in the Citizenship by Investment program. I will try to give you information that you, the people, never have. Information is power. Without information, well, you're being run by people that don't look for your interest. I will make two announcements that are very important. I'm going to make one now, and I'm going to make one at the end of the podcast. The one that I'm going to make now concerns the RICO case and concerns one specific individual. At the end of the podcast, I will make an announcement regarding action that I've taken regarding individuals in St. Lucia and in St. Kitts. MSR Media was approved as a citizenship by investment in St. Kitts and Nevis by the Harris administration. Why? Well, simply because we were making movies, we were hiring a lot of jobs, and bringing a lot of publicities in our film for the island. So it was a win-win situation for the Federation and for MSR Media. For the past 2.5 years, we have investigated the fraud, the money laundering, the corruption in the Citizenship by Investment program. What we found is beyond imagination. A criminal network going over several countries and continents. We have investigated in mainland China, in Hong Kong, in Dubai, Egypt, Jordan, London, and of course, all over the Caribbean. Our investigation starts from the moment we were approved by the Harris administration in the spring 2022, up to now. Over the past 10 days, Mr. Bulora, the president of my company, who is a former US government official, went to St. Kitts and Nevis so that with my lawyer in St. Kitts, Mr. Damien Kelsik, could meet Mr. Denzel Douglas, Foreign Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. They had several meetings with Mr. Douglas and his legal advisors. Those meetings were very, very important. Mr. Bulora is now back in the United States, and he has given me a full report on the content of those meetings. Based on that report, I have decided to instruct my lawyer to release Denzel Douglas from the RICO case. He's out. Denzel Douglas has discussed with my team in a very open way and has understood the gravity and the catastrophic possible scenario that could come on the country. Before we go into the issue of the fraud, money laundering, and corruption in the CBI program, I'm going to say a few words about the documentary that we've announced, The Men Who Sold the Caribbean to China. What we've done is that we have interviewed and done extensive research with some very important experts and officials that have studied for years the infiltration of the Caribbean in Venezuela and in the Caribbean and in Latin America. We have particularly researched the surge of Chinese companies in the Citizenship by Investment program and the extraordinary amount of Chinese nationals that are not citizens of the Caribbean. What are the dangers for you, the people? Well, let me give you just one quick example. St. Kitts and Nevis is about 50,000 people, more or less. You have over 60,000 new citizens. You don't know who they are. Lots of them, most of them, are from China and the Middle East. All it takes is one decision of the Chinese government for them to move in. I'm sure you are aware that China does not recognize dual citizenship. So you want to ask yourself a question. Why is China allowing major Chinese sales company like Galaxy, Globe Visa, to sell openly in mainland China, in Hong Kong, citizenship to their citizen? Why? Why is it that in the past year, Chinese citizens with St. Kitts and Nevis passports have been arrested by the United States government in America for major crime? Money laundering is one of them, but much more serious crime as well. You want to ask yourself the question why suddenly last week, in emergency, the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Lucia had to cancel a passport of a citizen of China who became a citizen of St. Lucia because he says that he will harm the reputation of the country. What's the agenda of China in the Caribbean? What are the dangers for the United States to have Chinese intelligence and so many Chinese citizens that now will represent very soon the majority of the population of you, the local of the Caribbean? You want to ask yourself the question why your Caribbean leader have allowed this to happen. And what is their connection with Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela? All of that will be revealed in our documentary, The Men Who Sold the Caribbean to China. We are going to first screen and send the documentary to all members of the US Senate and all members of the US Congress in January 2025. I must warn you, what we have found is explosive. Now, let's start to talk about the fraud, money laundering, and corruption in the CBI program. So where is the fraud? And how does it affect you? Let me first give you a little bit of historic, right? Because you in St. Kitts have not been able to have any real information. What you have is propaganda that has been given to the various media outlets controlled by the various parties. MSR Media, we were very happy in Nevis. We did a lot of movies. The only thing is that we got criticized by the head of the CBI program that we were paying the people too much and that it was not a good example for the other company. But then at the end of 2021, Harris, Nisbet, and his wife told me that it was absolutely crucial that we shoot a film in Belmont Farm, Kittitian Hill, right? That we've shot a lot of movies in Nevis, and it was crucial that we go to St. Kitts because they wanted to have a lot of publicity for the site, who, as you know, has been abandoned and was another CBI disaster for a long time. So we did it. We shot the movie, and then the government at the time, Harris and Nisbet, tried to convince us to buy Kittitian Hill, Belmont Farm. We looked into it. We were close to make a deal, but then at the last minute, they told us the real amount of the debt of the site and the amount of litigation involved. We backed out. But then came a new player, someone that I consider a friend, Len Harris. Now, I know Len is a very controversial person in St. Kitts, at least that's how he's being presented by the government and in the media. But I have to tell you, with me, there was no controversy whatsoever. He came and he said, Philippe, we cannot make the deal. We understand why in Kittitian Hill, but here's what we suggest. And we worked on a deal with him and Timothy Harris. And I believe in, if my memory serves well, because everything that I'm telling you on this podcast, keep in mind, I can prove it in a court of law, both civil and criminal. I'm going to repeat that again. For all the lawyers and defendants and the officials that are watching this podcast, every single thing that I'm saying is fully documented, and I can prove it in a civil court of law and in a criminal court of law. So in, I think, January 2022, we signed a contract by which we created a company that will be owned by my company and by the government, one of the government company, I think it's called Whitegate, if I remember well, of which we were going to acquire and develop, I think, close to 400 acres of La Vallée and Kittitian Hill to build a $1 billion resort, ultra luxury, for Hollywood movie star. That was going to be a very eco-friendly project that was going to create 500 permanent jobs. We've spent a fortune flying architect from California. In the contract that we signed with the government, we were going to be receiving 1,200 shares of CBI. At the time, I knew nothing about Galaxy, nothing about CBI. I was too busy directing and producing things non-stop. Keep in mind, we have made 10 movies in 2 years in the Federation of St. Kitts of Nevis. So we were working on that. And then Mark Brantley and Sean Richard decided to make a vote of confidence against Timothy Harris. When I saw that, I said, Jesus, everything is going to explode. The government is going to explode. I can tell you, and it's also fully documented, that I tried to make the peace between Timothy and Mark. And I was very close to break a deal to bring a lot of money. But at the end of the day, those men decided they were going to go at each other, and nothing could stop it. Which is what led to the federal election of 2022. Now, during the election campaign, Mark Brantley went full on in the press saying that the jail project was a major scandal at 5,500 shares. Now, Mark is a close friend of mine. I know that a lot of the propaganda media in St. Kitts have always assumed that my legal action were some type of political plot between Mark Brantley and Terence Drew to get rid of Harris and Denzel Douglas. I think that you're going to find out today that it's far from the truth. Now, me, I'm a simple guy. I said to myself, hold on a second. We signed a deal memo with the government to make a $1 billion project of ultra-luxury resort with a film studio, with a big American hedge fund. And we're getting 1,200 citizenship units at $200,000. And the Chinese Caribbean Galaxy are getting 5,500 units at $175,000 for a jail that costs $40 million. Now, I'm sure that if you were in my shoes, you would say, there's something wrong here. So when Mark Brantley made public the jail amount of share, That's when we started our investigation. I have to tell you, it didn't took that long for us to find out about the scam. We have collected very quickly enough evidence to prove the fraud, the corruption, and the money laundering. And I'm talking before the election. I had 2 or 3 meetings with Terence Drew before the election. And I told him, I said, listen, I don't know if you're going to win, but if you do win, you should be aware that there is a massive problem in your citizenship by investment program. Fraud, money laundering, corruption. And he said, I understand, and I guarantee you that if I get in power, I will fix it. I said, please, because we have invested in your country. He said, please, if I win, keep investing because I will need the investment. After the election, I called, literally the next day, I called Sylvester Anthony. Now that's a name that's going to be very interesting. And I said, meet me at the Park Hyatt. Literally, they were celebrating, I think it was even the day that Drew was inaugurated. He came and I said, look, here's my phone, here are the documents. I want you to review with me the evidence that I have of corruption, fraud in the Citizenship by Investment Program. He said, no. I'm not going to blow $1 billion business because you have some evidence of fraud and corruption. He refused to look at the evidence. I had another meeting with Drew, and I warned him, and I offered him to look at the evidence. And I told him, you got another major problem. We believe that the Chinese intelligence service have infiltrated your program. We believe, and we have evidence that suggests that Ying Jing is possibly a Chinese agent. Drew didn't want to look at the evidence. What he did was, I think a month or so later, is invited. Ying Jing was the boss of Caribbean Galaxy, who he knew, because I informed him, that she was selling the passport of your country at 50% of the legal price and breaking the law in your country, which he knew that I had evidence that suggests that she could be a Chinese agent. And he invited her to be part of the official delegation of St. Kitts and Nevis at the United Nations General Assembly. When I saw that picture, I had another meeting with Drew, which was very heated. And I told him, hey, I'm leaving. I'm done. He said, no, please. I want you to come to cabinet. People don't know what you're doing in the country. People don't know what I'm doing in country? We had 100 people working for us. The minimum wage was $700 US per week. We've done at the time 5 movies. And people didn't know what we were doing in the country. The government didn't know what we're doing in the country. We were approved already by the CBI. Anyway, I went to the cabinet. And after that, we had a meeting with Garth Wilkin, with my American partners, at his office, right? I can tell you what happened in the meeting very precisely. Mr. Attorney General, I'm here to file or to press, or whatever you call it in St. Kitts, criminal charges against Galaxy and Lescan. I have evidence that I would like you to review. I wasn't alone. We were with my American partners. But somehow, nobody wanted to look at our evidence. So the thing was, well, Philippe, we're going to take care of you. We're going to give you the unit, but I already have the unit. Well, we're going to give you a little bit more unit, like that you can make bigger movies. Okay. What are you going to do to stop the fraud? I guarantee you, we are not processing the illegal fraud. And he said, Andrew told me, don't believe what you hear. People have a political agenda. We are not processing those illegal applications. You have my word on that. Remember, we bought the hotel and continued to invest because Drew told us that he was training up the program. What he didn't tell us, and what he always denied, him and Gus Wilkin, that they were processing the application of Galaxy at the fraudulent price, not at $175, at less than $100,000. And they denied it. They say, Philippe, it's not true, you're hearing things, trust us, trust us, trust us. Let's talk about the fraud itself and why so many units were given to Galaxy for the jail project and how it affects you, the people. Those programs are meant to create real jobs for the economy so that you people can have jobs, well-paid jobs, and proper infrastructure. Well, take your car and drive around the country. What do you have? A bunch of abandoned CBI projects that are killing the landscape of the country. Why? Why does your government allow that? Ask yourself the question. That's not complicated to understand. So let's talk about the fraud itself, right? Why would the Harris administration give 5,500 shares, which is close to $1 billion to Galaxy for a jail that costs $40 million US? Well, let me explain to you why. Because this structure, organized by Les Khan, no question about that, and by the Queen of the Caribbean, Ying Jin, well, it allows everybody to make money. They knew that they were not selling the passport at $175, right? So they needed an extraordinary amount of share of passport to dump at a much cheaper price. The contract of Les Khan is paid by the number of passports sold. So the more passports he gives for a project, boom, more cash for him. Now your friends, your brother in the country, the processing agent, the lawyers, people that you call your friends, how do you think they became millionaires overnight? Because every time they were processing a passport, or file, they were getting $2,500, $3,000, sometimes $5,000. That's how they became millionaires overnight. So the more passport is given to a project with absolutely no regard for the economic of the project, everybody makes money. So you have Les Khan making huge amount of money. As you know, we, MSR, have obtained in court, and we won every time, the bank record of Galaxy through the US corresponding bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, I think, bunch of bank. We won. They fought very hard, them and Harris, to stop us, but we won, and we got the transaction. So now we have this transaction. Can you imagine? We have the bank transaction of Galaxy, of Farron Lawrence, of his company, of Harris, Denzel, everyone, Khan. So a few months ago, I decided to make an example of the fraud, to file in the court of St. Kitts in the defamation case, because these people, you have to understand, they call themselves honorables, all of them, right? For me, believe me, there is nothing honorable about these individuals. So I wanted to give them a warning. And since they had the audacity to sue me for defamation, I filed in the court in St. Kitts how much Les Khan was paid. We already identified $13.5 million that he was paid. 10.5 from the CBI program. So you understand? More passport given, dump the passport at a fraction of the legal price, but his contract says that he gets a bonus plus passport. Boom. That's why Les Khan made that structure, because he was directly benefiting that. And he was paid to his American consulting company in America, in Florida. And Mr. Khan is a US citizen. Then we found out that Mr. Khan was paid by Galaxy while he was the CEO of the Citizenship program. Well, it's called bribe. Whatever you want to take it, it's called bribe. Now, your government has those information. Did they do something about it? Did they indict Les Khan? Did they even told him to come to St. Kitts to explain himself? Good governance. We're going to find out a lot about good governance tonight. Then we found out something that put the entire Citizen by Investment program in the Caribbean in danger. We found out that Galaxy and Khan agreed to use a due diligence company in China, and that company is owned by the vice president of Galaxy. What does it mean? You know how these people are, they talk about, oh, we have the strongest due diligence. Lies. Lies. The due diligence of all the Chinese of Galaxy nationals were made by their own fake due diligence company. That means that all the people that have been delivered the passport, their due diligence is compromised. I told that to Drew and the AG. I sent him the name of the company. I sent him the certificate of ownership of the company. I sent him the organigram of Galaxy. And I told him that I've given that to the Homeland Security in the United States. And I told them, you need to bring each one of those Chinese that have your passport in St. Kitts and do a complete new due diligence on these people to see who they are. Because like I said before, there is a lot of spy activities and criminal with your passport. Has that been done? No. Did you ask all those Chinese to come that hold your passport and verify it and have them fingerprinted again in St. Kitts? No. Do you realize the danger that you're creating for the entire program? That the unit has allowed a fake due diligence company controlled by the VP of Galaxy to perform the due diligence? And you're talking to me about good governance? So we have identified how Les Khan benefited directly from the fraud, obviously. Dumping the number of passports, closing the eyes on how much they're sold for, and he gets paid by the number of applicants. We have already identified how some of your friends, people that call themselves, oh, my brother, became millionaires overnight, like Dwyer Estefan says all the time in his podcast. You know what they are. I don't need to repeat it. You can go to the list of the, and I can tell you the one that have the most committed fraud. They became millionaire overnight. Nobody cared. And everybody closed their eyes on the underselling and the fraud because they were all making a fee out of it. So local processing agent, local lawyers, boom, lots of money, right? Millionaires. While you're struggling, while they're coming to you and say, oh, dividend, 1,000 EC. That's, you know, no, it's not even charity. I can tell you very precisely that after calculating, without the fraudulent contract associated to CBI, without the corruption, the citizen, their CBI dividend should be at least $15,000 per year, US, not EC 1,000. I can sit down with Terence Drew anytime he wants on this podcast. I have my calculation, I have the bank statement of everyone, and we can do the addition anytime he wants. So when I hear that MSR has created a lawsuit for the collapse of the program, no. MSR has exposed the people that have been robbing the citizen of the country. You, the citizen, there is nothing you can do. Yeah, you can vote, that's it. But it's the same. Whether you vote that one or that one, it's the same. That's why they never sue each other. Because if one sue each other, the other one is going to give the dirt on the other one. Right? So that's it. Your vote, sorry to say, but whatever. But me and my team, we're the ultimate warriors. I've exposed their fraud and corruption and money laundering and more in US federal court and with the US Department of Justice. Because this is ending. I've already won. The people of the Federation needs to understand, I already won because I've already put the fear of God into them. Where is Les Khan? Oh, he's hiding. You ain't gonna see Les Khan in the Caribbean anytime soon. He's hiding with his money offshore because he know I'm coming. You know we're coming. The politician, they have the fear of God too. They know how much they made. They know have their bank accounts. They would have never imagined that I could do that. No one has ever done that. And why am I doing that? Because I want justice for me, and I want to force them to give the money back. Let me give you a few information that you need to know. I think January or February 2023. Again, I can prove that document. WhatsApp communication, emails. I gave to Attorney Garth Wilkin the bank account of Galaxy. I said, here's where the money is. I found the money. Go get it. Have they done something about it? No. Nothing. And I couldn't understand why. So let's talk about the famous speech of Terence Drew at the Parliament. Madam Speaker, they gave 22,000 passports to the jail project, Madam Speaker. They, meaning the Harris administration. So let me finish the speech for you, Terence Drew. Because in the last month, I have the information and the document. Let me finish the speech for you. Madam Speaker, they gave 22,000 passports for the jail project, which is 45% of the population of the country, to Chinese people that we don't know where they're coming from, and the due diligence is compromised. I have processed those passports illegally sold under the legal price by at least $100,000 myself, Madam Speaker. The vast majority of them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when Philippe Martinez told me that we have found the fact that Galaxy was using a fake due diligence company, I did not tell those Chinese nationals to come in St. Kitts to do fingerprint in person, Madam Speaker. You want to do, Madam Speaker? We can do, Madam Speaker, all the time. Because I have the full documentation to prove what I'm saying. And we're going to subpoena every government employee that was involved. Madam Speaker. So when Timothy Harris, and God knows I have my issue with Timothy Harris, but when Timothy Harris says, Drew processed most of those applications, he's not lying. He's telling the truth. Absolutely. By the way, you will notice that in the investigation that has been launched by Prime Minister Drew, and he cannot talk about it because it's wide and wide, right? He said that it's pre-reform. Terence, I got news for you. For us, we have made the investigation after the reform to see how many each one of you have been processed. Let me tell you something. We filed a judicial review in court in St. Kitts. To be honest with you, I had no faith or hope whatsoever that a St. Kitts judge would actually hear the case and allow a trial to take place. Absolutely. I said to myself, I know enough of the country now, and I don't believe that their judicial system is going to be independent. So I don't know the judge, but whoever she is, God bless her, that she will allow a trial to take place in March so that the people of the country knows everything. Well, let me tell you what they've done already. The government and the Attorney General, Wilkin, came to the court. They tried to dismiss the case, right? What they didn't know is that a lot of people are coming to America to settle their dispute because they know what I've done, right? And they've given us information. We let them go, they give us information, contract, sales agent, invoice. And we've submitted those contracts and the invoice to the court in St. Kitts. It shows very clearly that for the jail project, it was way undersold. All of them. Every single one of them. So do you know what the lawyer of the government said to the judge? In front of Gus Wilkin, the government doesn't know how much the passports are being sold. The government doesn't know how much the passports are being sold. But Terence True still processed them. MSR Media was able to find out precisely how much the passport was sold for, bring the contract, bring the invoice, how much the client paid, but the government couldn't. Because I'm going to tell you something. When they're going to come to the United States, they're all going to say, we didn't know. Now, when we provided to Terence Drew the contract and the invoice of 2 sales agent companies, I honestly thought he was going to call me to say, thank you, Philippe, we're going to cancel those passports immediately and we're going to blacklist those sales agents. I only thought he was going to say, well, I know he's a friend, but there is a certain escrow account agent that we're going to blacklist as well. Because we also gave him evidence of fraud in the Ramada Hotel with fake certificate that the client paid $200,000. We have the contract and the invoice showing how much the contract was paid for, and the fake certificate from the lady at the escrow agent. We have also very strong evidence to suggest that Galaxy has used that escrow agent. We know who he is. Farron, right? To bribe the politician. Because as Les Khan says, they need a lot of cash. Farron is an American citizen. Did you know that? An American citizen bribing official. You should check on the internet. I think it's called Foreign Corruption Practice Act. Something like that. The goal for us was not to destroy the program. Dwyer Stefan and I, Dwyer through his podcast, and me in direct discussion with Drew, I say, look, man, your economy is collapsing, right? There is no investment that has been made in the country in the past 2.5 years, right? The people are struggling. Let me present you a plan. It's very simple. You make a statement that whoever has not paid his passport, the legal price, has 90 days to send the money directly to the Treasury. If not, the passport is deactivated. And how you do that? You send a memo, you make an official statement, and you send a memo to all the fraudulent sales agents, and I can provide you the list. Make the list. It's very simple. You get 5,500, right? Government could collect $500 million in 90 days. Because they all want to keep their passport. Believe me. They all want their passports. Otherwise, they cannot travel anymore. Otherwise, they cannot, some of them, commit fraud and spy the United States. So they want their passport. But I said, but you got to bring them here so that you can run a new fingerprint in St. Kitts. Did that happen? No. So if you don't have a Christmas dividend of $10,000 for Christmas, it's because Drew didn't want to listen to Dwyer's suggestion and my suggestion. Now you got to ask yourself a question. And Terence Drew, I have supported you. I have applauded the reform that you've done. But now that I know that you have processed the vast majority of the Galaxy application and that you have lied to me, now you got some explaining to do. Not only with me, And you know what I'm talking about. Let me talk to you about the last 2 chapters of corruption level. Well, you should know something. All those sales agents in China, in the Middle East, they're making a killing. They're making between $25,000 to $40,000, sometimes $50,000 on each applicant. Almost more than the government. Let's go back now to Terence True. I saw his video where he announced the number. Yes, 600 million, 690, and now 220. Well, he should have explained to you why, right? Because now that indeed there is a stronger system in place, right? Because otherwise they were going to be shut down by the EU. Because the EU knows everything now. Well, Galaxy took their criminal organization to St. Lucia. And in Grenada, it's going full as well with another Chinese company. So Drew told you the numbers. So you're happy as people, 200 million, 600 million. Let's talk about CS Global. And then you're going to find out a new layer of where your money is going. Once Les Khan realized that I was on to him, he tried to show me that he was not the only bad guy. So he met me in Saint Martin, my country, France, and we filmed him. A courageous gentleman from Nevis flew and filmed him. And he gave me the contract of CS Global, which was renewed right before the federal election for 5 years. So let me tell you about CS Global. It's a marketer. It was created in St. Kitts by Sylvester Anthony and Dave Bath. Sylvester Anthony. We'll get back to him later. So when you guys get money, when Drew tells you we collected 200 million EC, Drew, how much of that are you paying to CS Global? How much of the $600 million the year before was paid by CS Global? Because I made my investigation. And I have the accounting of CS Global in the UK. And I have the bank transaction of CS Global. It's very interesting. Very interesting. CS Global used to get $19,000 for each applicant. And then it was reduced to $11,000 after a negotiation. And for the jail project, of which they did nothing, they were given $5,000 right before the election. Why? What are they doing? Go to Instagram. They have 1,200 people that follow them. And they also market St. Lucia and Dominica, because when Denzel allowed CS Global to be formed, he then took them to Dominica, where they have the same deal. I know, because I have the bank transaction as well from CS Global in relation to Dominica. So basically, while you, the people, are begging for 1,000 EC, well, just on the jail project, CS Global is picking up about $27 million to do a little bit of internet, to a little post on Instagram to say buy St. Kitts. No. They have also something useful, right? Because you saw that you got the ranking of the best program in the Caribbean. So just so you know, people pay for that, right? I have a full statement of Les Khan saying that they're paying for that. And that's one of the things that Dave Bass does. So CS Global, I think I will reveal very soon who's getting that money. Because then they created CS Global in the UK, and I can tell you that that money doesn't end up in the UK, huh? No. By the way, when we threatened to sue CS Global, they sent one of the biggest lawyers in America, Lanny Davis. So who's Lanny Davis? Top lawyer, lobbyist. Lanny Davis represented Michael Cohen against Donald Trump. He was every day on CNN, MSN, attacking Donald Trump like you can't believe it. So when I threatened to sue CS Global, which I am, suddenly Lanny Davis said that he represents CS Global for many years, that they're good people, that if I sue them, they're going to countersue me. Now you have to understand, when you see that the lawyer who's attacking Donald Trump all over the media and in court wants to come after me, well, I was a little bit nervous. I told my lawyer to tell him that I know he's a big shot. Tell him that I've already provided all the information to the US Department of Justice. And let's have a Zoom call in 3 days. Because I want to show him our evidence. So now for 3 days, I'm like ready to show him the evidence. 1 hour before the Zoom call, he sent an email to say that he won't be able to represent the client on this matter, meaning CS Global, and that he's excusing himself from the matter. I took the email and I framed it, and it's my office. But then we started to do a little bit of digging. What does Lanny Davis has to do with Dave Bass and CS Global? And then we realized, see, those programs, they are allowed, because you have to understand the people, the countries like the United States and European Union, they are allowing those passports to travel in their country. So they have a say that they are run properly. The US Treasury is involved in that, right? Now the US Treasury have no idea of the massive fraud and money laundering to US bank, right? They're gonna find out very, very soon. When Harris was elected, they brought CS Global and Lanny Davis to go to the US Treasury and vouch as a representative of St. Kitts and Nevis. I know we have the payment, because when you are paid as a lawyer by a foreign country, you have to declare it. So Lanny Davis vouch at the US Treasury for a program that is about to become massively exposed as a Chinese infiltration. That's what I'm going to say on that. And you're going to find out more about the documentary. So Dave Bass is no longer technically the owner of CS Global because he wanted to be an official. So they made him an official representative of the country in London, business. So he's basically like a diplomat. Now, I really would like you to meet the guy, and I would like you're gonna get to meet the guy in US court, but very controversial figure, right? Accused of being part of the kidnapping of a Indian businessman that was kidnapped in Antigua, brought to Dominica with some Indian gangster from London, and then the guy escaped. But Dave Bass, and there was a big article in the Daily Mail, but Dave Bass said that he doesn't know the kidnappers, and he has never met them, and the fact that he was in Antigua when it took place is a coincidence. Not too long ago, Dave Bass was in St. Kitts. So I sent him a WhatsApp. I said, Dave, why don't you go to see my lawyer in St. Kitts? He's got a movie he wants to show you. It's very short. I have obtained the security camera where Dave Bass goes into the car and meet the kidnapper with the car that they use. So it's not a coincidence. He knew the kidnappers. I have the film, the security footage. Do you want to see it, Dave? So why am I upset with Dave Bass? Well, first of all, that structure where he cash money from Dominica, from St. Kitts, and where is that money is going? Well, I know where the money is going, right? So obviously, you, the people, should find out where that money is going. It's going to be revealed. I'm going to reveal it. One day, I don't know, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say, here we go. Here are the beneficiaries. That's why I've created the news media. And that's why I'm taking them to court as well. After I discovered the evidence of the contract of CS Global, I asked Terence Drew to come to meet me at my hotel in St. Kitts with Dwyer Estefan and my dear friend and advisor, Charles Wilkin. And we told him, so what is that? What is that contract? He took the contract and he said, okay, I will look into it. Good governance, I will look into it. Then I say, let me show you the 45 minutes video of Les Khan explaining who are the beneficiaries of that contract. Oh, I don't have time now. I have to go. I have to go. I'm giving you a contract that's more than suspicious. At the time, I didn't have the bank transaction, I must confess. I have a video of Les Khan explaining precisely the historic of CS Global, how much they're making, and who are the beneficiary. And you have to go? That's the good governance, Terence Drew? So I decided, with Mr. Buloa, who's expert in intelligence and counterterrorism, to go to meet Dave Bass. And we went to meet him in London, in his office. I was very polite and I said, Dave, we've never met, but we know that Ying Jing is the queen of the CBI in the Caribbean and you're the king of the Caribbean CBI. Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis. You get money for doing nothing. I have a video I'd like to show you. Now you'll get to hear Dave Bass, and he talks like a street guy. Oh, I don't care, I don't want to see nothing, I don't care. Drew is my little brother, I say, Dave, the Chinese are selling the passport for half the price. Why are you allowing that? Oh, it's their problem. You know why it's their problem? Because it doesn't matter how much they sell it for. Dave gets his cut. And then whoever I know gets their cut, get their cut. All over the Caribbean. Dominica, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, it's a little bit different. So then I said, Dave, we're going to have a problem. Because if we're not able to sell and be treated as a competitive market, I'm going to have a problem. And he said, well, you should go. We don't like Americans. We like Russia, India. Fuck America. Fuck America. I told Dave, thank you very much for your time. We're going to do just that. I called Drew. After, we were in London. I called Wilkin. I told them that guy needs to be expelled as a diplomat of the government, or whatever his function is, and that I demand an apology. Again, the good governance, they say, oh, he's not technically in the government, he's the official representative, and he's the guy that gets a cut on each passport of your money, people. I went with Mr. Buloa to have a cigar, relax, and I told him, hey, that's it, I'm done. Call the American authority. He did. We flew to the United States. I provided all the evidence that the good governance Prime Minister and the good governance Attorney General refused to watch for 1 year. And we gave them to the US authority. I told Terence Drew that I will do that. And I've always kept him informed. Always. Then after that, I think I received the very famous WhatsApp messages of from Garth Wilkin to Dwyer Estefan, where basically it confirmed his knowledge of the fraud. But at the time, I didn't have the contract of the clients, right? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I mean, Jesus, they tell me that that what I'm saying is not true, and he's confessing in the WhatsApp messages. I sent the messages to Drew. I was furious after him. No, we're fixing things. Good governance, good governance. Then Drew came to see me to Washington, D.C. And I told him, I said, listen, you're here. I mean, send Garth Wilkin. Because the American Justice Department has everything now. It's a case. I called Garth. I said, Garth, if I were you, knowing the magnitude of the problem, I would come to the US right now and sat with the people in charge of this investigation. I don't want. Why? Because I imagine the worst and I don't want to know. The same in St. Lucia. Huh? Philippe G. Pierre, the I don't know Prime Minister, and Ernest Hiller, the mastermind, they know about it. So your governments are not telling you that all of this is being investigated. Now let's define the all of this. What all those great honorable, no, they're not honorable, all those individuals, all that criminal enterprise that goes from China to Dubai to Jordan to Egypt to London and the Caribbean, Iraq and Iran. What they forgot, which I understood right away, they're selling the passport in US dollar. And you cannot get money in the country without that money transiting from the US banking system, Bank of America. And before that, it was Wells Fargo. But mainly it's Bank of America. So that fraud goes to Bank of America. That fraud that all of them are part of and close their eyes. Now, everyone is on a different level, right? There's going to be a level and, they will have to explain themselves. But it goes to the US banking system. US banks have been infected by that fraud. I can tell you that Bank of America is on full alert on that subject matter. So you have a possible major problem with the bank. You have Chinese nationals that are criminal and spies that hold your passport, that create a problem to the US and the EU. You have fraud committed in your program where the government official, I'm telling you right now, they're all going to do what they did in the court in St. Kitts. We didn't know. We don't know how much the passports are being sold for, right? Except that, Philippe, we have, and I gave it to the US Department of Justice, all the contracts from St. Kitts and from St. Lucia that Drew and Ernest Hiller signed off on. So, like I said in an interview that I had, you're going to find a lot of people that are going to say that they didn't know. and that Les Khan and Ying Jing, it was only them that did that. I have recording of, I think I have like 25 recordings and video. And Les Khan say, I'm the scapegoat. That's why he took off. Let's talk about Les Khan, if you don't mind. They say that Les Khan was fired from the CIA, that Galaxy was expelled from St. Kitts. Were they? Was Les Khan fired from the CIA? Terence Drew, do you want to give us the letter that says that? You want to make that letter public? Or did Les Khan resign? Which one is it? Now, we're being said that Galaxy was expelled from St. Kitts. No, they were not expelled from St. Kitts. They moved their operation to St. Lucia, where now their criminal enterprise is operating. That's it. As a matter of fact, I know for a fact that after he was elected, Drew asked them if they wanted to be involved in the housing project. You are being so blinded by those propaganda websites. And I challenge any of those guys to come on this platform and I'll bring my evidence. They won't. Or if they want to sue me for defamation, go ahead. You saw what happened to Harris and to Galaxy and Ying Jing when they sued me for defamation. That gave me, to defend myself, all of your bank account. So I know now every dime that you've taken from this country. So go ahead, challenge me, make my day. The Drew administration is doing everything they can to stop us to operate and recover our money. I'll give you an example. We don't have an escrow account to process application. I can tell you that our financier in the United States was in Nevis. He has at least 15, 20 applications that he wants to process, and we cannot, because for months and months and months, we asked the Drew administration to provide us a way to have an escrow account, and they're being silent. They play the game of the silent, trying to strangle us financially, which they're trying. So, the gloves are off. The people need to know that the companies that have sold the passport at half the price are going to be blacklisted. I have irrefutable evidence that Philippe Gépierre knows that Galaxy is doing the underselling. Friday, I filed an official document with the US Department of Justice. This document named 15 individuals and companies of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Lucia. I have sent all the evidence proving their involvement in the fraud conducted by Caribbean Galaxy. This criminal network needs to be handled by an authority that has the power to end it. Thank you.